welcome to the Intuitively Wild podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Levine. Living intuitively wild is about coming back home to ourselves. Here, we talk about how to live connected to ourselves, others, and nature, and make a commitment to radical authenticity, vulnerability, and acceptance. On this podcast, we delve into a wide range of topics that span the human experience. We peel back the layers and talk about the things that are often not talked about. This is a space for us all to walk and wander this path of life together. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Intuitively Wild podcast. I am so excited to be recording today's episode. It is our ritual for October, and it is a ritual for Samhain. And we are going to get into all the details about what Samhain is, what it means, where it comes from, and obviously the nitty-gritty details of our ritual. But I want to emphasize that this is not about religion. This is about a lifestyle, a practice, a honoring of the seasons and the cycles and the energy of nature. So although Samhain is a pagan ritual, a pagan tradition, a pagan holiday, that does not mean that you have to practice paganism or that it has anything to do with religion in any way. If you want to think about this in the framework of a Halloween ritual, that is beautiful and wonderful and magical as well. Obviously, take what feels good for you, form this into your life, and do what feels authentically, intuitively, and intentionally aligned for you. But regardless, Samhain is actually what Halloween originally comes from. So the roots are there either way. And with all of that being said, let's talk about what Samhain even is. It's a Gaelic word that translates as summer's end. And Samhain is a Gaelic festival that occurs on the eve of October 31st into November 1st. And some people even celebrate it a couple days later to really align with the equinox, but it's marking the end of the harvest season, end of summer, and marking the beginning of winter, or the quote-unquote darker half of the year. And also it marked the Celtic New Year, or what some people call the Witches' New Year, and signaled the beginning of winter, like I said, which they associated with death. And on this day, the Celtics, or the pagans, they believed the veil between the living and the dead was especially thin, which allowed spirits to visit the living. And in Irish, Samhain means November. So there's a lot of deep roots in Ireland, in England, and actually something that I just learned, which I think is so interesting, is that some Neolithic passage tombs in Great Britain and Ireland are aligned with the sunrise at the time of Samhain, and it's mentioned in the earliest Irish literature from the 19th century. It's also associated with so many important events in Irish mythology. So this is, again, deeply rooted, deeply ingrained, and a way that we have been connecting to nature and honoring the seasons and the cycles for years. And in the Wiccan tradition, which is a form of modern paganism, the celebration of Samhain took on many forms. And there were traditional fire ceremonies and also celebrations that embraced many aspects of modern Halloween. And as always, activities related to honoring nature and ancestors and spirits. I hope you can hear Theo running around. We're sitting outside. Wiccans look at Samhain as the passing of the year, and like I said, to some this is known as the Witches' New Year, and they incorporate common Wiccan traditions into the celebration, which we won't go into, but are really interesting and can be really powerful. And in the Druid tradition, Samhain celebrates the dead with a festival on October 31st and usually features, again, a bonfire and communion with the dead. And American pagans often hold music and dance celebrations, which apparently are called witches' balls in proximity to Samhain. I've never heard of one. I've never been to one. Someone should invite me to one, but that's a whole other story. And yes, like I have reiterated, the customs of Samhain include rituals to welcome ancestors and honor deceased loved ones, and it's very much about connecting to your roots, your ancestors, but there's also a big emphasis on protection and warding off evil spirits and really staying connected to what feels supportive and strengthening and connecting. And in Celtic culture, people would leave offerings outside villages and fields for fairies, which some people called spirits, but as you all know, I'm obsessed with fairies, and I have been leaving out offerings for fairies, and I will definitely be doing this as part of my ritual. To summarize a bit, it's a celebration of the end of summer, the end of the lightest time of the year, and calling in and welcoming the beginning of winter and the darker time of the year. It's a time to celebrate the abundance that we harvested in summer and welcome in the sacred darkness of winter. It's about new beginnings and a shedding. It kind of has this New Year vibe, and it's all about releasing and renewing, which we will definitely be bringing into our ritual, because it's a time of reflection and transformation and connection with both nature and what is in our world right now, and with the spirit and supernatural realms. It's reminding us of the cyclical nature of existence and the eternal bond with our ancestral heritage. It's about communing with the dead, with our ancestors, honoring them, talking to them, maybe getting closure or listening to any messages that they have to share for us. And so a lot of people like to create an altar for their ancestors, and this can even be old or past versions of yourself as well. There's also a big emphasis on community gatherings, and people hold feasts. There's something called a dumb supper, which is eating in silence to honor deceased ancestors. You leave a plate out for ancestors or those in the spirit realm that you want to welcome in, and then you invite your family who's still living or those who you are close to, and you have this dumb supper in silence. And for someone who talks a lot about calling in more silence in our lives, I think that this could be a really beautiful practice. This is a fire festival, so it's all about bonfires and things to represent the sun. It takes place between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. So if we transition to the energy that is going to be present at this time for us in this realm, according to the human design gates, it's very, very interesting because the days leading up and the days of Samhain and the days after as well are all splenic gates. All gates that are connected to gut instinct and intuition in the most primal, basic sense of the word, these quiet whispers that are guiding you. And that's just so aligned with this ethereal, spiritual, otherworldly energy that Halloween and Samhain bring to us. And so I chose to focus on the gates that are present during the 31st and the 1st, because that's when many of us will really be honoring and celebrating this time. But again, the days before and after are also splenic gates. And so the first gate is gate 50. And this gate, first of all, one name for it is the cauldron. Again, interesting. And another gate is values. It's a generated channel, which means that it has to do with the generator energy. And if some of this is feeling like too much or unhelpful for you, just leave it. I'm just giving some details for those who might be interested. Gate 50 talks about the value of continuing traditions and the values of serving and enriching the present and the future through preserving the past. It talks about the capacity to heal and transform communities by living your values. Gate 50 has this intuitive knowing of what a group needs, what a tribe needs, and knowing that in order for a group to be healthy, every individual needs to be healthy. And in order for every individual to be healthy, the group needs to be healthy. So when this energy is present, we have the knowledge of what our tribe needs and how to strengthen and support a group by embodying our values. This time is really asking us to gain clarity on our values and prioritize living in alignment with them. if that is the one thing you take away from this, that's all you need to know. So during this time, that is the energy we will all be feeling, whether or not we have that gate or the full channel originally in our chart. But if you have gate 27, then you will have this full channel present. And the full channel is called the channel of preservation. And it's about the innate knowing of what people need, taking care of them, and having the energy to do so. So it's this splenic, intuitive knowing, and sacral, the energy, because gate 27 is in the sacral center. So without that gate 27, you might know what the group needs, but not feel like you have the capacity to take care of the group. And that's again why I'm emphasizing getting clear on your values and living in alignment intentionally with them, because then the rest will take care of itself. And I do want to add that the splenic gates, although very connected to intuition and instincts, are also where we have fear and anxiety, because that's also what those primal gut instincts bring up. And so each gate in the splenic center also correlates with a fear. And for this gate, it's the fear of responsibility. And so you might notice that coming up for you, and it's just important to be curious and see how that's presenting itself for you, and know that you have the capacity. And again, as long as you are living in alignment with your values, the rest will take care of itself. Okay, moving on to the next gate present, gate 28. So this is called preponderance of the great, or the game player. And these names are really not that helpful. I'm just giving them to you in case you're curious. And I thought that the previous gate's name was very interesting, but sometimes the names are just unhelpful. But this gate, it talks a lot about fear and how we can have this fear of dying before finding our life's purpose. And that can drive us to avoid stillness, avoid silence, avoid slowing down, and attempt to get rid of that fear by doing things that can be risky. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, just being stuck and stagnant and feeling lost in depression and hopelessness and purposelessness and meaninglessness. But when this energy is utilized in a helpful way, it can be about facing the hardships of life with courage and embracing fear as a part of life and not letting fear stop it from moving through life. And this is an energy that helps us find meaning and purpose in overcoming challenges despite fear, and embracing the fear of death, and also getting clear on our fears and working on embracing them. And so when you have the full channel, it's called the channel of struggle, and it's connected to gate 38 in the root center. So if the spleen is gut instincts and intuition and fear, and the root center is this pressure center, when you have the full channel, you can feel pressure to find your purpose and to want to take everything really deep and get the full meaning. And so it's just about catching yourself, and when you're using that energy in a really helpful, nourishing way, and when it's hindering you and propelling you into anxious or ruminating thoughts. And watch yourself and just see if you're always in a hurry or always panicking or can't relax. And trust that you know that there is enough time to do what you need to do, and you know when is the right time to do things. And basically just trust yourself and trust your life path. And then the last gate we're going to talk about is gate 44, which is coming to meet / alertness. And it's another projected channel. And this is all about the fear of the past, and even more specifically, the fear of the past repeating itself. And this is someone who is worried that nothing new will ever happen to them and nothing will change. And this fear of just repeating their past mistakes and using those mistakes as their reason to not move forward. And this can really cause someone to feel stuck and to not lean into growth and transformation and evolution, because they're so afraid of trying and failing that they don't even move forward. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, this energy, someone with this gate, and all of us at this time will have this energy, it allows us to really embrace forgiveness and learning from our mistakes, and knowing that every moment holds the potential for healing and transformation, and having the ability to break old patterns from the past, and also being able to help other people break old patterns from their past, and using this knowledge in order to grow and in order to learn, and also to forgive and to reflect and learn from their past mistakes with compassion and curiosity, and to move forward without letting the past dictate and control the future. And with this full channel, the full channel is called the Channel of Surrender, and it connects with Gate 26 in the Ego Center. And the Ego Center is all about motivation and willpower and drive. And so this is someone with the full channel, gives you the motivation and drive to pursue your goals and believe you're going to achieve them, and be able to surrender to life's challenges. It can hold a bit of a manipulative energy because you'll do whatever you need to do to get what you want. But it's about intuitively knowing how to move forward to achieve your goals. And it's really interesting. Another thing is that all three of these gates are also related and connected to Scorpio, which makes so much sense. So with that background and knowledge and foundation, let's get into the ritual. So I think a really beautiful way to begin the ritual is to repeat this mantra or this intention that honors the sacred celebration and traditions and roots of this festival and this holiday. And the mantra or intention is, it is the end of the harvest, the last days of summer, and the cold nights wait on the other side for us. We thank the earth for all it has given us this season, and yet we look forward to winter, a time of sacred darkness. And saying that out loud to yourself or to the group that you're connecting to this ritual with can be a really powerful way to connect to the energy of Samhain, and also to connect to the energy of the seasons shifting, and to connect to nature. So, our altar suggestions. So if it makes sense and feels good to you, it might be really beautiful to create an ancestors altar. And this is really just placing pictures or symbols representing your past ancestors or loved ones on your altar, and placing candles or offerings or even notes to them. And you can even perform your own kind of dumb supper. I don't love that name, but that's what they called it. You can perform your own ritual feast in honor of them by putting your altar at the table, either the centerpiece of the table or giving it its own space at the table, and either honoring them at the feast or eating in silence or just welcoming them into your space. And again, this can also be for a past or old version of yourself that you are ready to let go of. So that is one way that you can conduct your altar this season. And other suggestions, and to go into the 5 elements, we have ether, which is also spirit. And so this can be anything in honor of the spirit realm. So this is a perfect place to put the pictures of your ancestors. You can get a beautiful goblet or glass of water and put it outside and leave it outside overnight, so that it is being infused with the energy of the air and the spirits around it, and then put that on your altar or at your table. And then for air, we have our incense, and my suggestions for Samhain is sage, rosemary, and pine. And we'll get into some more details about those when we go over our herbal companions. And then for earth, I really recommend going outside and picking something from nature around you, whether that's pine cones or leaves or sticks, something that you can connect to, something that is bringing nature into your home, because that is truly what this ritual is about. That's truly what this holiday is about. We want to connect to nature and the shifting seasons as much as we possibly can. And then for the fire element, this is a fire holiday, and So we want to incorporate fire as much as we can. One way you can do that is lighting candles for your ancestors and speaking their names out loud as you light the candle. You can also light a bonfire or do this ritual by a fire, anything that brings that fire and that warmth into your ritual. And once you have created your altar, I would sit down at your altar and speak the names of your ancestors or the loved ones that have passed out loud and journal about them, honor them, and write down any messages you receive. This can also be a time for you to connect to your intuition, especially if you're focusing this ritual on honoring a past version of yourself. You can speak to that past version of yourself. You can thank them and listen to any messages that they have for you. So, our yoga therapy tools. The first one is a nature meditation walk. In silence, going outside and taking a walk and noticing something you can smell, hear, feel, and see that represents the shift in seasons. And this is a really beautiful time for you to pick up pieces from nature calling to you that you can add to your altar. Okay, our next yoga therapy practice, a short physical asana sequence and a visualization. And the asana is going to lead into the visualization, which is why I'm mentioning both. So the asana, I want to give you guys freedom to really connect to what feels good for you. So move through standing postures. This could be tree pose. This could be warrior 1, warrior 2. You can even do sun salutations if that is feeling good to you. And if you don't know any postures, you can 1, look these up, or 2, just stand in Tadasana, which is your feet planted firmly on the earth and your arms at your side. And just feel rooted to the earth. And on your inhale, bring your arms overhead. And on your exhale, fold forward. Any standing posture that can ground you into the present moment, get you moving a bit, and feel you connected to the earth, rooted to the earth. And then we want to end and ease into child's pose. If that is not accessible to you, you can lay on your back. You can lay on your side. You can sit in a chair, someplace that feels easeful and restful. If you're able to, rest your forehead on the earth. You can even lay on your stomach and place both hands under your forehead so your forehead is connecting to the earth in some way. You want to connect to the ground, connect to your intuition, connect to the spirits. And then when you're ready, flipping over and ending in Shavasana, which is corpse pose, which is just complete surrender, release, and rest. And from there, we are going to move into the visualization. And it's a beautiful practice to stay in Shavasana for this visualization, but find a position that feels comfortable for you. I'll give a brief description and example of what this visualization can look like for you. But again, I know that this is just a podcast. It's hard to tap in and fully let yourself lean into that right now. So know that you can touch into this for yourself. Okay, our next yoga therapy practice is a visualization. But I want, if you're able, for you to close your eyes and notice where you are rooted to the earth, whether it's your sit bones, if you're sitting down, or your feet planted on the earth. Just notice where you are touching the earth. And wherever you are touching the earth, visualize roots coming out and grounding you deep into the earth and holding steady and strong. And think about summer that we just came from, this harvest season that we just came from, and the flowers that blossomed and the leaves that grew and all that was harvested and abundant during that time. And now think of yourself moving and transitioning into winter. And the leaves are starting to fall off and layers are starting to shed, but your roots are still holding steady and strong. And in fact, they're even deepening and strengthening. And feel yourself soften. Maybe soften your shoulders, soften your face. Relax more into your posture, soften deeper into the earth. And think about how you are going to soften more throughout this winter season. And as you rest and replenish, how your seeds that you are now planting are going to be solidified and are going to be nourished in this soil to later bloom. And ask yourself, what seeds am I planting in my soil this season? And ask yourself, how can I continue to dig in and deepen my roots? And again, come back to this when you have the time and do this in your own way. But take those two questions and take whatever comes from this visualization with you and journal about it. And maybe even use it as intentions for the season. Okay, and now we are going to touch on the herbal companions for this ritual. So like I had mentioned when we were talking about our altar, pine, which really just connects you to nature, has so many healing properties, but here I really just want it to be a symbol of our connection to nature and the shifting seasons. And then we talked about sage. And sage is known for returning you back to your intuition. It helps bring you back to your center when you need to make a decision, and it aligns you with a clear-headed and calm-bodied path to clarity. If you are buying sage, make sure you get it from an ethical source. It's so interesting because it's very hard to do that in America, but in England, sage grows everywhere. So really just be intentional with where you are sourcing your products, especially sage. And then we also talked about rosemary, and rosemary stimulates your mind. It helps improve your memory, and it helps you gain clarity and strengthen your focus on what is in front of you. And two more that I wanted to add is mullein, which provides protection against quote unquote evil spirits. And it's also associated with the fire element, and it supports your health, it increases courage, and it brings out your internal light. So it's really perfect for this time. And I had to include mugwort. I get the chills just saying that. Mugwort is so deeply connected to the spirit realm and with intuition and magic. It helps connect you to the deep wisdom that you have inside of you, and it balances you, both promoting internal balance, emotional balance, and energetic balance. And it helps you have steady energy, and it calms your nervous system. And also it helps bring your dreams into clear focus, both your sleeping dreams and your awake dreams. And it just connects you to your inner wisdom and all of your desires. These can be found in teas. They can be made into tinctures, body oils, incense, candles. There's so many ways to work with all of these herbs. And if you need any suggestions or support, just reach out and I will help you find the perfect herbal companion for this ritual. Okay, now we are moving into journal prompts, and we are really devoting these to our ancestors and to the spirit realm, and also to our past selves that we are ready to let go of. First question: what is my relationship like with my ancestors? What is my relationship like with those I have lost? What is my relationship like with death, with spirits, with the unseen and unknown? What is my relationship like with winter? What part of me am I ready to let go of? What has this past self taught me? What messages do my ancestors or these past parts of myself want me to receive? And then just end with stream of consciousness. Let whatever comes up, come up, unedited, unfiltered, unthought through. And it might be really interesting to read it over afterwards and see what messages you received. Okay, and moving into reflections. And of course, our journal prompts and reflections are connected and really entwined, and they flow from one to the next. So I'm going to include some questions for you to write about in your reflection. So it might still feel like journal prompts, but there's a transition here. The journal prompts are about gaining clarity and connecting, while the reflections, the emphasis is really on helping us see the path forward and see what we need right now. So ask yourself, am I feeling fully nourished and resourced from the summer harvest as we enter winter? What do I need to bring into my life to support myself throughout the winter season? How can I celebrate and embrace all seasons and cycles of life? And from everything that comes up for you, take 2 pieces of paper and on one, write down something you're ready to release and then burn it safely in the fire, ideally in a bonfire outside. And really hold space for that thing to be burned. Let it go. And trust that burning, that releasing means that it's gone. And on the other piece of paper, write down your intentions. This can be an intention for Samhain. It can be an intention for winter. It can be intention for November. Whatever feels right and natural and intuitive to you, trust that, lean into that. But as always, we want to create a sentence, and from that one word that we can hold on to and come back to and really connect to and use to ground into our intentions over and over and over again. And with that, we want to create at least one, preferably a few, action steps that we can put into place throughout whatever period we are holding this intention in order to really embody it and integrate it. And we want it to feel accessible and actionable and really actually practical so we know we will do it. So for me, my intention is silence. My initial phrase that came out of some of my journaling, which I haven't done fully yet because it's not Samhain yet, but something I've already been leading into for this season is I trust the messages that come through when I make space in silence. And my word is silence. And my action steps, more time in silence. Less podcasts, less music, less X, Y, and Z to just fill the noise. And to get even more specific, I've decided that after a certain point in time in the day, I'm not listening to any more podcasts or music. And this is not a rule. This is just a guideline. If I really feel like listening to music one night, that's totally fine. I will let myself do it, but I will do it with presence and intention. And another action step is at least twice a week, walks in nature in silence. And I have a couple more, but that's to give you an example. So by the end of this ritual, you want to have your intention, your statement, your word, your action steps that you can take with you into this next season and cycle of your life. And this is a tool to help support you if the darker nights of the winter feel hard or confusing or overwhelming. You can ground back into your intention and connect back to this ritual and be reminded of how strong your roots are and how supported you are by your ancestors and yourself and your intuition and the foundation, the tools that you have built around yourself. And Samhain is just such a ripe time for magic. And in this context, I really mean magic with a K. So when you spell magic with a K at the end, it refers to the ritualization of one's spiritual intentions. And when you use this ritual intentionally and really believe in the magic and the impact it holds, it will have a ripple effect. It will imprint on your life. And all you have to do is step outside and feel the energy in the air around you. There is magic in the air at this time. And what if you let yourself lean into that and believe in that and trust that? And what if you let that magic intertwine with your magic within you and just were curious about the messages that came through to you and the energy that you felt. And again, you don't need to explain it or understand it or justify it. If you are feeling something, if you are getting some sort of connection or knowing or innate feeling within you, allow yourself to trust that. This ritual is not about perfectionism. You do not have to follow it to a T or at all. It is here to give you suggestions, guidelines, a foundation to work off of so that you can really connect to the magic that this time holds and create a ritual around your intentions for this season, this cycle. The important thing is to create space for you to get clear, get grounded, get curious, get connected. Samhain can also be a really powerful time to do ritual in ceremony with others. So invite your friends over, get creative, creating your ritual, get your herbs, do your yoga therapy practice, get connected to the energy, answer the journal prompts, reflect, and then share with each other what came up for you, and then set your intentions and declare your intentions out loud to the group or by yourself so that you are really speaking them into existence. I would love to hear what this ritual brings up for you and what Samhain brings up for you. If you feel connected to anything, if you get any messages, any insights, any experiences that you have, I would love to hear about it. I will share mine as well. And I'm just really excited for this season. I really am, which is saying a lot because I used to live in fear of winter, but that's a story for another time. I know that this winter is going to hold so much magic for all of us, especially if we decide to ritualize it intentionally and stay connected to ourselves. And I will see you guys next time for more magic. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.